Yes, please.
So good evening, everybody. This is an 11th Ward Community Zoning Change Request meeting. I'm Alderwoman Lee from the 11th Ward. We're going to be talking tonight about 3316 through 3318 South Morgan. We have with us the two co-owners who are trying to redevelop the property along with their attorney, Mr. Acosta. I see we've got at least one or two community members here as well. Kathy Disney is a member of my team. As I said, we're going to go ahead and record this. Generally, how this goes, the zoning change request is from a B1-2 to a B2-3. I'm going to let Mr. Acosta get into the details of that. If folks have questions, they can let us know. I will say just upfront, I have received a petition from a number of neighbors from the block who are opposed to the changes that have been requested. So I have that in my possession. At this point, I'm going to let Mr. Acosta, you go ahead, and then we'll open it up for questions afterwards. And I'm going to share my screen because I'm going to present what Mr. Acosta has sent.
Thank you. Thank you, Alderwoman. Thank you, everyone, for attending. I'll try to make this quick so we can spend most of the time presenting, but because I think most of you know the building and the area very well, so I'll be able to zip through these. So again, Rolando Acosta, I am the attorney for the project. And Alderwoman, you can probably scroll through because the first few images, I take it everyone on here knows the building, knows the block, knows the other. This is the building on the left. It currently contains 8 units. However, city records are unclear. Somewhere between 6 and 4 appear to be the, I'll call it legal number in the building. Shane and Petros bought the building as is. They were not involved in the prior addition of units to this building. At the rear, there's a yard, there is no parking. The current zoning would allow for 6 units. It would require ground floor retail or commercial, which this building, at least in its current condition, is not really very well suited for it. So the reason for the zoning change is to try to legalize the 8 units that are currently there, 4 on the first floor, 4 on the second floor, and also to allow the 4 units that are on the ground floor to remain because under the B1-2, it's supposed to be commercial, at least on the frontage. So that's very simply what the request is. I think the next image, let's see what comes up. These are just pictures of the block. And Alderwoman, if you want to scroll through them, because Dave's property, other buildings in the area. So there's a mix on the block between commercial on the ground floor and residential on the ground floor. And then you have multiple multi-unit buildings on the block that you can see, some of which actually would be of the -3 density. So a lot of these big 3-story buildings that you see actually would fit into the -3, would be too big for the -2, but acknowledge that they have been there for a very long time. The proposed changes are really all interior. The intent is to make these units better, modernize them, but effectively keep, you can see on the left is the existing plan. There's 4 units on this is the ground floor. There's 4 units on the ground floor, 3 2-bedrooms in the front, and then 1 2-bedroom in the back, what would be the northwest corner. And then the southwest corner would be a 1-bedroom. Basically keep the same bedrooms, keep the same essentially size of units, but update kitchens, update bathrooms, reconfigure the units so that they have an improved layout. And that's seen on the right. The next image is the second floor, which has currently 2 2-bedrooms on the front, 2 1-bedrooms in the back or west portion of the property. Again, all interior work. You can see that most of it's sort of in the center, reconfiguring and relocating some of the bathrooms so that they go back to back, better improved layouts, but effectively keeping more or less what's there. As part of the plan, I think the next image will show, there's a proposal to add 5 parking spaces. There are none on the property today. If we were to add 2 units from 6 to 8, we'd only have to add 2 spaces, but it makes sense to add as much as we can. So you see 5 parking spaces across the back of the property. with a trash enclosure also added so that it's not sitting in the alleyway. Building footprint stays the same, building height stays the same, all interior changes to the project. The next couple of images are a couple other buildings that Shane and Petros own in the immediate area. Oh, sorry, there's elevations of the building. It is essentially what you see today. They'll clean up the facades, but effectively no change in height, no change in footprint, no change in width, and no change in depth of this building. The next few images are a couple of buildings that they purchased in the area. To the left is the before picture. To the right is the after picture. This is 837 West 33rd Street. You can see that they cleaned up the facade, actually amazingly brought it back to the orange brick that it was originally, improved on the windows, so added new windows. They also improved the interiors, but we don't really have before and afters for the interiors. We have some of those for the next building. The other building is at 1005 West 32nd Street. Again, they purchased this building, spruced up the exterior, added new windows, improved the doorway and the stair that leads up to the main doorway, and did then some interior rehab of the building, which you can see in the next image. So to the left is the old bathroom, to the right is the new bathroom, much brighter, much more usable, spacious bathroom. And then an image of, to the left, the old living room kitchen, to the right, the new living room kitchen, opened up the floor plan, made it livable, better accommodated tenants, obviously cleaned it up, flooring, walls, new kitchen appliances, new kitchen cabinets, etc. throughout the units. So they're in the neighborhood. They have a couple buildings. They like this neighborhood, trying to improve some of the housing stock here, and at least in our view, do quality work in terms of rehab. I think this is just a survey, which is boring to most, but it is the existing conditions. The difference in the zoning is really to allow for the extra 2 units, and then so it's 2 numbers switching from the B1. The B1 requires ground floor commercial. The B2 allows either ground floor commercial or ground floor residential. We think that's consistent with sort of the nature of this block, where you have different buildings that have either residential or commercial on the ground floor. The second number, which is currently a -2, we're seeking a -3. The -2 would limit us to 6 units. The -3 would allow the 2 extra units so that we could keep the existing proposed 8 units. And with that, I will stop talking and try to answer questions or respond to comments.
We're a pretty small group here, so if you want to raise your hand or shout out, I think that would be fine.
I don't know how to do this.
Oh, that's okay. Matt, go ahead, and then Dave will come back to you.
Yeah, Lily, just curious, was there any context on the petition you received? It seems like the proposed changes are pretty minimal, so I'm just kind of curious what the opposition is against.
Yeah, so I can read it. It's addressed to the Department of Zoning and to myself as Alderwoman of the 11th Ward regarding this zoning change request 3316 to 3318 South Morgan. And parenthetically, it says historically it's 8 non-conforming units. The undersigned represent that they own property within 250 feet of the above referenced property and are against a zoning change from B1-2 neighborhood shopping district, legally 4 units, to B2-3 neighborhood mixed use, proposed 8 units and 5 parking spaces. And then B, any zoning plan or modification to allow more than 4 residential units at that location. And it is signed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, looks like 12 owners within the 250 feet of the referenced property. And we have one person that's on the call, Mr. Samber, who's also a property owner. He's a signatory to this as well. So Dave, maybe this is an opportunity for you here if you want to speak now. Is that okay, Matt, with you? Yeah. Go ahead, Dave.
Good. Hi, thank you very much. I don't know if you could show the map that was submitted with the petition.
I can't, but you know what? I can bring up a zoning map. That's what you're looking
Well,
at.
Well, the map that I submitted shows just exactly where the opposition is in proximity to the property that's being asked for a zoning change. So the
So,
property.
I can do
the
this.
property-
I can put it up
Yeah.
in my camera.
Yeah, anything in orange surrounding anything in yellow is opposition in writing. And you'll note that both to the north, immediately appurtenant, and to the south, there is opposition. So the sandwich in between the two buildings, there's property behind the alley, right exactly behind this property. They don't want 5 parking spaces back there. They want to scale this down. This building was a mistake, which I'm using the term generously, and it continued to be a mistake for many years. I've been here for 38 years, and I was there when there was a fire. I was there when they refixed it up again, and wouldn't you know how they were able to keep it an 8 flat all these years, knowing full well that the zoning was a B12. The street has undergone a terrific streetscape, thanks to the business people through the TIF money that has gone into a fund that was able to help pay for the close to $4 million streetscape. Morgan Street was intended to be a much more calmed down street with lower density and residents, nicer, larger units that would attract families, parking that would be adequate for the people living there, not ganged together. You can't get 5 parking spaces back there. Are you kidding? The whole idea is this is an opportunity for the new owners to take advantage of the outstanding zoning that they have and come up with a plan that will open up the ground level to the required enterprise opportunities, whether it be offices or take your pick, but galleries have certainly sprung up in the neighborhood. Joe Brothers right next to them, Michael Joe's property right to the north of them has a gallery, a working public gallery it draws people to the neighborhood for those of us who are, again, spending the money to make the neighborhood street what it is. And so to have an illegal flat continue to become a fixed up illegal flat is against our wishes.
Matt, did that answer your question?
Yeah, that provided a lot of because I was mostly just wondering if they're looking for it to be zoned as lower density residential, or if you're trying to keep this so commercial can go in on the first floor, and it sounds like it's the latter.
I believe it's the latter, but we can let Petros and his partner. I'm sorry, I don't have everybody's. I can't view everybody on the screen, but Mr. Acosta, you're Shane. Sorry, Shane and Petros or Mr. Acosta, you can answer those questions too. Please feel.
Yeah. So the idea was to bring to keep the residential that's on the ground floor. So not to bring commercial back to the ground floor here. It hasn't been for a while. The sort of the facade of this building at the ground floor doesn't really lay out for commercial right now. The facade is a solid facade. So, at best you'd get an office in this space, which doesn't really bring activity. And we've got eight units in the building. The idea of the parking was to try to bring the building closer to conformance. Again, if we added 2 more units, we'd only need to add 2 parking spaces. The 5 fit, we thought that would be a positive for people so that fewer cars are on the street to the extent that renters bring cars here. Certainly if people want less parking, we can provide less parking. If we bring commercial, you may bring more cars. And I don't know how people would feel generally about that. And then again, you've got buildings here in this immediate area that really, if we start to look at their unit density, as well as their size, are probably not fitting the -2. I mean, I went through really quickly and just noted some addresses where I think just by size, they are beyond what the -2 zoning allows. 3324, 3329, 3337, 3252 and 54, and 3315, just in the immediate vicinity, are 3-story buildings, extend far back into the rear. Some don't have any parking. All of that is more consistent with -3. We're not trying to max out the unit count under the -3, simply asking for 2 more units than what the zoning allows, which again have been here for a while.
So just to be clear too, the current zoning B1-2 would allow for up to 6 units, but that would have to include commercial on the ground floor.
That's correct.
Okay, got it. Dave, did you have something else to say?
I do. I was a rehabber in the late 70s, early 80s. That's why I bought this building, was to rehab it. But I also had to stay within the rules, and I had to stay within the zoning, and I had to spend the money to do whatever it took to comply with whatever they told me I had to do. And the Joe brothers to the north of me did the exact same thing. They complied with, they added on, they were able to come up with the right kind of fire escapes and use the property wisely and use it according to the B1-2 zoning, which was to keep a commercial operation, some sort of a enterprise on the main floor. They did a tremendous job. They opened up the space so that it's appealing. It draws people into the area. They feel safe. This building, you walk by, it's bricked up. It has an alcove, a staircase that could be opened up. And it just doesn't have the same feel that we're trying to get. We want to see you folks come up with the right kind of plan, spend the money, and join us in seeing the success that we've been here for almost 40 years to try to make this and stick it out. Not to have somebody come in and throw some wiring and some drywall up and walk away. I'm sorry, that's not the kind of improvement we like to see at that property.
I think they're doing more than throwing in wiring, drywall, and walking away. They tend to keep their buildings. I'll note that the building immediately to the north also has a similar sealed up facade. I mean, it's not an uncommon situation here. And if you look, just walk up and down the block, you'll see single families.
Sir, I'm trying to tell you that the merchants of this neighborhood, of this street, of this enterprise zone, of this tax TIF operation have a stake in this property a lot more severely than you do. And it's our wishes that it's become what it really could be and developed in a way that's going to enhance, not to come up with another apartment building that's going to be loaded up with closet-sized rooms. I've been in there. I've been in, you have too. You know what I'm talking about. This is not the kind of space that we'd like to see on our block. If someone else has something that's out of the zoning, you know, that's not what I'm talking about. That doesn't make it right just because someone else has got away with it. I'm trying to ask that you take a much closer look and try to make add to the character of this neighborhood, which most of us have put in. If you look at the number of properties represented on that map that came with the petition, you're going to see that it's significantly more than just a 2-flat. So that's our position, and we would hope that you would reconsider and maybe talk with us before you try to show us what you're going to do. Maybe you should ask us what you think would be best to do, and we could maybe work something out along that way. But to try to make it exactly into an 8-flat and with 5 parking spaces back, we don't want to see 5 parking spaces back there. No, we don't. We want to see garages. We want to see things that enhance the area, not make it look like some trailer trash facility. I don't care how much you can fix the facade. I don't care how much you can make it look pretty. I did that for years. I bought this property to do the same thing. As it turned out, it became my life. And I think that's what I'm trying to tell you. A lot of us have been here a long time, and we want to see that our investments stay growing, and not that we get enhanced by or hurdled by someone who's thought they could probably get away with getting that zoning approved, but they just didn't realize that there were people who thought more of not seeing this happen for very good reasons.
We obviously can have different opinions. We didn't think we could get away with anything. We asked. That was the only thing we did, given this current circumstances. So, and we thought this would be a way to improve this building. We thought the parking was going to be a positive. Again, if you don't want 5 parking spaces, we can go down to 2 parking spaces. That's just not a big issue.
So at this point, generally speaking, on these calls, I won't, I want to be able to give this a little bit more thought. And I look back at the petition that came in. Rolando, I will send you a copy of this so that you have it,
Sure.
so that I'm not the only one with it, and we'll make sure that gets around. I counted the lines wrong. I counted individual lines, but there were signatures and printing. So it's about half that number, but 6 property owners in and around that to match what Mr. Sandberg gave us in terms of the property owners in and around the area. With this kind of pushback from the neighbors, it's given me a lot to think about here. So I'd like to have some time to think about this. And I would ask that Mr. Acosta and Petros and Shane, you take to heart what the feedback has been from the community as well. This is the sort of thing where, we'd like for people to be a part of the community, and this community on this block has been there for a good long time, and they've got some views as to what they think might best be suited on the street. So I can't not take that into consideration at the end of the day. But I take to heart also that, you've made an investment in this property, you bought it as is. And, there was never a guarantee that something was going to be able to be changed. So I'm hopeful that there's some sort of middle ground here after you've heard from Mr. Sandberg on behalf of his neighbors as to the sorts of things that they would like to see on the property. Obviously, they can't dictate what happens on the property, but they can express their concerns as community members at the same time. So at this point, if there's no other questions and nobody else has anything to share, I'm going to propose we end the meeting here, and I we'll go back and take this under consideration, have some additional conversations. I would like to talk to some other of the community members, and maybe Mr. Acosta have a follow-up with you and your clients to see what we can do to come to a better place on this right now than we are right now.
Very fair. Welcome it. And I thank everyone for their time.
Great. And if there's any other questions or things come up, you know where to reach us at the Ward office. Please feel free to reach out. Appreciate everybody's time.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.